see something different, they will aspire to be different. But if they don't see where that's an option, it's kind of just sitting on deaf ears. So, now I'm gonna sit down. And we're just gonna have some dialogue. And just talk about some things, and not only as the organization, but what are some things that maybe your organization or you or your employer or whomever are doing that we can stand behind because they're force in numbers, and we can stand behind and support whatever you're doing. Whether you may own a nonprofit, you know another nonprofit, or whatever the case may be. So I want to kind of just give you, a little background on what I was told, what happened. But again, what are some things that we can do? Because we're all leaders in our own right. You don't have to have a title, we all know that. You don't have to wear a suit, we definitely know that. But what are some things we can do collectively, or even individually, to create some change in our community? Because if we're not going to do it, we can't expect someone else to come in and do it for us. So, what do we think?
So let me ask you this: when you went to Southtown yesterday,
and I'm gonna sit down too, by the way. Yes, sir.
What intel did you gather when you went to Southtown, when everybody was in Southtown yesterday?
Well, so what we got? From a lot of it, man, it's just perception. A lot of people that do certain things, and I'll just say that, I'm not a judge or a jury. They just feel like, why not? I gotta survive. I know it's wrong what I'm doing, but I'm gonna survive. And we're built to survive. And that's some of them's thought process, some people's thought process. And I'm gonna do what I see. I mean, and I get that. I mean, if we grew up in a home, statistically speaking, and mom a doctor, dad an attorney, or this is what I was around, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna do something like that. Or if I saw mom and dad putting on suits and getting dressed to go to work, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna do the same thing. So that's kind of in a nutshell. I don't want to sit up and say, people were in this bad off situation. Everybody wants change, but everybody don't know how to create that change. And that's what kind of prompted me when I put out on doing the flag. We got to be the change that we want to see. It starts with us, because we can all sit back, and say what should have happened, or, this kid did this. But what I don't want us to do, and I've been guilty of this as an individual, and I'll go ahead and say as the organization, we talk about things for a moment, and then it die out, and we move on to our next thing. Or we get in a situation where I'm able to relocate, move out of my hood, and I'm okay, my kid's okay, so everything else it is what it is, I ain't got nothing to do with it. But everything affects us, whether it's directly or indirectly. Because even though my kids may go to wherever, they're gonna still at some point mingle with the individuals that do what they do. Whether that's out at the concert, whether that's at the eatery, or whether that's in high school, they're gonna mingle with them. So that's kind of the gist of it, man. Just gotta give individuals something to strive for. And something I learned too is, men, we need to step up to the plate first and foremost. And I'm not gonna be a man basher, I'm a man. But the reality of it is, you take this room. It's 80% women. You take out the leadership in organizations, in churches, in the home, it's predominantly women. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking women. My point of it is, we have to step up to the plate as men and show other men how to be a man. And if we're not fulfilling that role, the cycle is just gonna keep repeating itself. Yes, ma'am.
Do we have some form of like a true mentorship type of activity? So I know you all said that you kind of adopted a class where the men are gonna go and read books. Is it a possibility to maybe each year maybe adopt a class and focus on those students in that class, and just kind of have activities that they will see us constantly? I think a lot of times with the younger generation, they're really big into instant gratification, and you have to be consistent. So possible for individuals in here, kind of like a big brother, big sister program, where you as an individual, you are kind of, you have one person, and you kind of mentor that person throughout school. So maybe we find somebody in middle school at that age where everything kind of starts to wane, and just constantly be with that person as they go from grade to grade, helping them with school, helping them with applications, helping them making those tough decisions, pretty much just developing a relationship. So I just think, you know, maybe adopting a class or having individuals in here kind of have a program to where you pick weeks when you have a child, and we work with that child through the course of their adolescence to see if they may bring some type of change.
Anybody would like to speak to that? There's open dialogue, it's not a question for me. Yes, ma'am.
So when I was in college at UA, we had a program called Bridging the Gap, which is very similar to kind of what you spoke to. What we did was we partnered with the local high school, there's Paul Brown High School, and the teachers picked out students who they thought were more at risk, or students who were kind of on the border of dropping out, or they kind of needed some assistance. Most of it was males, but there were a couple women and then girls at the time in the class too. And it was probably like 5 or 10 of us, and we met twice a week, like every Tuesday and Thursday, and then we hosted community stuff on the weekends. So we did like clean up to where they came, and we all cleaned up the city, and we did like little small activities, and then at the end, we got like a big kind of celebration, and we gave like a little certificate, and their parents came, and we helped them apply for college and stuff, and I still kind of talk to them today, and that's something that we did when I was in college, just kind of similar to what you're doing. So I think, you know, if we do something, we may need to be strategic in our decisions. So instead of trying to do, yes, you want to get to all communities, but let's focus on one community first, and then kind of go from there. Like maybe focus on one high school or one middle school first, or one section of Birmingham, and then expand it from there.
And keep in mind that there are a lot of programs like that that exist, and all programs don't hit every area, just as Christina said. But the thing about it is you can start something, and this is something that people see, and this is, the youth don't necessarily trust, I'm gonna use that word, they don't necessarily trust, because we'll start something and we don't complete it. So they'll see us maybe 1 or 2 times, it has to be consistency. Because if we're not consistent in coming to share our story, sharing a different way with them and things that they can do, if we're not consistent in them seeing our face, then they're gonna fall off and they're just gonna think we're just like everybody else. Because you have to realize that in their mind and in their world, they've had people that say, I'm gonna be there for you, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and then you're there today and then you're gone tomorrow. So it can't be one of those things, we have this conversation and we start, and then we don't see it through. Because it has to be some consistency, we really want to see the change effect.
I think it'd be important too, like if we figure out like a way like, okay, we are all just creatures of habit, right? Like the thing that separates us from animals is that we can hold more habits, right? So the curriculum is whatever is in front of us. So, for example, there should be someone that's 16, works 20 years, and is broke in 20 years. So there's a certain financial literacy, right? Where even if they get a job and get some money, they're gonna do with their money what they've learned how to do with their money, right? And continue with kind of with the pattern. But as opposed to an official capacity, right? One thing that young people do understand is social media and online. We can leverage that. Meaning, there's some good information that could be kind of unsiloed, right? Like there are a lot of people in this room that have a certain financial literacy that maybe I don't have, and if everybody in this room was a little bit better, whoever we came in contact with, even as adults, right? Like if the adults knew better, then of course that'll be a better example than the kids. Like a lot of times, I think we need to figure out a better way of getting good information to the adults that are there, as opposed to trying to come in straight to the kids. We need to come to the kids, but the kids are already around adults and they imitating adults, right? Like I'm a teacher, and then when the kids' parents come, it's kind of like, that's the tree you fell from, like almost every time. So how do we get to the parents? I think that's the hardest conversation, because it's got to be a way to get you accurate information without also insulting you as a bad parent, right? Like, not really label, just, hey, some stuff you don't know yet, and here's some better ways to do it. But how to make it an accessible and friendly way to get better habits in general.
Well, and to add to that, the way we reach parents is, I mean, if you go fishing, you put what the fish likes on the rod, and that's how they bite. So we gotta figure out a way to learn what their interests are and learn what they want to achieve in life as well, so that they can empower themselves, and then in turn, when the kids see them, their parents being empowered, they want to do the same, or whoever their core structure is. Because a lot of times it's not mom and dad. It could be grandma, it could be uncles, auntie, somebody. It could be a foster home.
I tutored a high schooler at Chelsea, and he was a senior, so I'm nosy and I get over involved all the time. So if you're a senior, what are we doing for college? How are we paying for it? And then I got into the federal aid and loans, and so I end up meeting the parents because they're the ones that are going to foot that bill. And so then we started having that conversation. After about the fourth set of parents that I had that issue and conversation with, we tend to think that things have to be formal. I really didn't. I sent a parent an email that said, do you know any other parents in these kids' classes that would be interested? And so, I just invited them to Hoover, and we just had a discussion with me and about 10 sets of parents. So I think that kind of thing is simple, and I think I think organizing is good in a measurable way, so we can see how many people do it. But at the same time, I feel like we're at such an urgent place that we are really good at organizing, but then we have to affect something. And so I think if that kind of thing could work. Now, of course, I was in Chelsea. My preference would be, to be here, to be in Birmingham, right? So if I could take that, and anybody could take that, but I feel like if we could all in our local circle see who we can help like that kind of thing, I think is a quick way to invest ourselves into that kind of thing. And then again, you can push your way into people's finances. I know that sounds really bad, but when I start talking about federal aid and how much money we have, and how much money you need for miscellaneous, because all of us were in undergrad, I knew what it was like. I always needed money. Now, clearly, I did not manage said money well as an undergrad, but I was always saving money. And so I can give you that. You might need that much. Let's not borrow the maximum because you don't need a $10,000 refund check. That's the kind of conversation. But I think it's good because the parents will trust your opinion, but then the students will be like, oh, she may know what she's talking about. So I think we all have our own wealth of information without it being super formal. So I think that's a good way, and it can go from high school to high school like that.
Yes, ma'am.
I kind of wanted to piggyback over what this lady was saying. I think I'm looking around the room. I think I'm probably one of the youngest ones in the room, so I'm kind of in tune. I feel like I'm kind of in tune to high schoolers. So the question was posed where do we start? So looking around the room, I feel like there's people in economics, finances, healthcare, law, all of that. So I feel like we can just start and be specific and kind of be within our own niche. That's what I've done. I'm a recent graduate from Tuskegee University, and I found my own niche in helping the girls in underserved areas who want to become doctors. Because if they see the doctors with the Benzes and the jewelry and all of that, they're going to want to do that, and that's something that's positive, something that we need. We all feel more comfortable when we go into the doctor's office or any healthcare setting and we see someone that looks like your aunt or your mother. So I just feel like everyone in this room, if we all kind of find our own niche and maybe use whatever background that we have, then that's a good way to kind of plug in.
So, I only caught what this line of people said, so what I was in response to that. However, as an organizer, the problem that I find is that what interests people nowadays, the younger parents, is no market for it. Literally, people's talents, they don't have a way to easily turn their hobby into a hustle, so to speak. So organizations like the Urban League have to be put in place to really build a bridge to what's to come, because we're at that shift. It's obvious now. So we have to be able to address the needs of things that don't even exist yet. And that's really where we are. I'm not going to say much more than that.
Anybody else? Well, oh, yes, sir.
My name is Randy, and I was deputy sheriff and law enforcement for 15 years and worked with Birmingham for 4 years. Now I'm a production supervisor. And I'm the reserve now, retired, and came over to the plant. But I've seen just about everything imaginable out here in the city of Birmingham. And growing up, I know, I'm just gonna say my parents had decent jobs to send me to Christian schools and things of that nature. and then I begged to go to public school. It was a complete culture shock. Just from me talking proper and getting made fun of, the only thing that helped me out was I could play basketball. That was it. And part of that, what a lot of people in here has talked about is money. Because they was like, oh, the boy from Christian school coming over to play basketball, I know he got some money, I know he gonna, you know, that's just it. Working with the county, some of the murders that you have seen on television, from a lot of those murders in Ensley where the people were in the house, they found and whatnot, people getting killed on 3rd Avenue. I have talked to some of those children. I met a kid that was 17 years old, and we were just having dialect because he wanted to get moved because he was in gang. And I'm just simply talking. He was just, he had no clue the consequences that he just shot somebody. It was just like, I'm finna go stand in front of the TV for 3 hours and look at BET and look at Lil Wayne. I'll make my phone call, talk to my lawyer. I know I'm finna beat this case. And so we talking, I said, well, I know you was doing something out on the street. How much money you got? What's the most? 17. He said, Mr. D, he said at one point in time, he said, I just bought this Regal. He said, but that set me back. I probably got like 122,000. 17 years old. So just speaking to some of the children, and when his mother came up there, his mother was young. I work libraries, and a lot of the children that come to the libraries, their parents are young. That's no excuse. I believe anybody can raise a child, but it's just the fact that it's hard dealing with boys sometimes, because I've dealt with several of them and had to pull their mother to the side, and there's no father there, or they stay with grandmama, and grandmama's 68 years old, and he's 14 years old. You know what I mean? So it's just different, you know, as far as trying to reach children. I worked Sandy in New York, the big hurricane. We had our guns in the car. The guy literally ran out of the, to get our oil change and said, man, y'all gotta get y'all guns. In New York, they dropped that ball. But do you ever hear about any crime in New York when they drop that ball on New Year's? I'm not saying lock every kid up, but I have been on the street where some kids just don't care. A kid can get caught with a gun here in Birmingham, Alabama. His mama can come down there to juvenile hall, $250. He's out. He's not afraid. When you have someone that's not afraid of their mama and not afraid of the police, I'm just saying, what's a gun? What's a gun to him? Man, I'm holding a gun. I'm walking to school. Car whoop whoops. SRO officers pull up. Hey, that dude over there, I think he got a gun. I've been in the library and I was like, where? He was like, the dude that he just right there, he blah, blah, blah. Call, man, I got a gun. Call my grandma. And he's out. There is no fear. When my mom and daddy jingled the belt, it was over for me. I'm hollering. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying laws may have to be tweaked a little bit, not locking every kid up. But we have a thing called ICE, that if you have a felon, if you are a felon, you get caught with a gun, it's X amount of years, but everybody knows with the right amount of money and the right lawyer, it's no law. You get now. But kids, Battle of the Bands, the little kid, I think it was about 10 years ago, he shot at Battle of the Bands or whatever. And I asked him, I said, what were you doing? He was like, man, my homeboy, you know, he bet me a stack. 16. So a lot of these kids don't have hope. Hope is big, especially talking to them, being around them, seeing them up there. When they hit that hammer, life without, what are you doing? He was like, I just don't know, Mr. D, if I could do it all over. But you got this XYZ. You may have a 2.5 or 2.7 GPA. You may graduate, but after that graduation, everybody know how much college is. So that kid, he's gonna go to Walmart, or some of them may have something. Oh, I can go to such and such Calhoun or whatever, but I'm not leaving my mama. So what are you gonna do? Mr. D, I just feel as though, you know, my cousin work up there at Hibbett's, he gonna get me on minimum wage. I said, you gonna work Hibbett's out? Man, I can't leave my mama. Well, you gotta do something to better yourself. Me, personally, my parents put it there, altar, what you gonna do? And I became a cop, cause me, to be honest, I wasn't a fan of the police. I just wasn't. When I went to public school, I saw a different side of the law from when I saw it from Christian school, right? When I was in Christian school, it was different. I'm just not gonna sugarcoat it. We went to basketball games, police, blah, blah, blah. It was different. When I came to public school, we going to Just Lanier, we going to Carver, and we going this, and my parents are just coming, blah, 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 and it was different. So I was like, man, you know what I'm saying? So when I became a police officer, I did whatever I could to try to tell the kids it's okay. It's hard now because of so much going on. It's like a us against them, and kids, when they see the police now, that's just like a cuss word. You know, and I'm telling them, it's a great career. You can do this. No college degree, just keep your nose clean. Look at me. You can do this. You can make something out of yourself. There is hope for you to do something. We pay for education. If you want to be a cop, you can go be a cop and then go on to be a lawyer. I work with Mr. Street at DA, now he's a judge. Came with him. I work with Danny. All these guys, we came in, they was DAs, all of us was just, they were here and I was here. But the hope is what's there. I see them all the time. And there's just, a kid just feels like if he can't get out, what I'm gonna do. You got this person over here coming out with a knot, the fresh J's, and their mama didn't buy it. I got offered when I went to Western High School, a guy when I went to school with one from kindergarten. He said, Randy, and y'all, I'm not gonna call his names, but when he got arrested, he was making $52,000 a week. $52,000. He said, Randy, man, what are you doing? He said, man, look at all this right here. He said, man, if you just come get with me, he said, I'll have you straight. You'll make more money than your parents make together. He said, I got you. Because he got me hit by a car when I was in kindergarten. He told me to run out in the street and did it. But you know, it was just like that. But even when I became a cop, he knew me, he stayed away from me because he respected what I did. But the fact of the matter is he got caught. And the streets don't have an expiration date. They don't. I don't think kids necessarily know. I talk till I'm blue in the face, and sometimes they don't understand until it hits them, until those doors slam and you get that one scoop of it look like some crawling in your food, one egg, and a piece of bread that's hard as I don't know what. But that hope is hard to find when you feel as though that there's no way out, there's no economic. You see what I'm saying? Kid, like you said, they see you. How did you do it? How did you get that suit? What did you do? Are you a lawyer? Are you this? Or you see a female coming out, oh, she jazzy, red bottoms. What you do? And it's all about educating us. I know people right now that I've gone to school, they got degrees in biology, graduated with honors, but is there a job? Lab Corps, $13 an hour.
So do you think that is the quest, and I'm sorry, do you think the quest, because it's always the root is just money, the quest to get money. So how do we change that mindset?
The mindset that I just feel out a lot, they see too much bling bling and everything like that, right? And that TVs are raising kids, videos are raising kids. And when you see that, a lot of kids, especially, I work West End Library, I work several of them, but West End Library is one of the largest libraries. So when you see a kid coming there with the J's, right, and his parents drive an Accord like 1975 Accord, but he comes in there with the J's and he's talking it, and that kid might be less fortunate. That atmosphere, my parents gave me a strong background, but a lot of these kids don't have the strong background to have the mindset that it's okay. Money's not everything, but in this day and age, the millennium, it's about money. It's about the bling bling. It's about the house. It's about the Escalade. It's about the Benz. If we can somehow change that and show kids, well, if you do your work, you educate yourself on the jobs that are out there, that you don't go to school and then in 2 years you find out you can't be a nurse or you can't be this, and then you say, Mama, I need to change my major.
Yeah.
And then they like, I just spent $20,000. You want to do what? That, as far as educating us from this high, because when you come back home and you're 19 years old and you're not getting it and you want to be a lawyer, what are you going to do? It's educating us all the way around about can we get out. And a lot of kids from just talking to them up there. I don't know the exact solution, but just being able to get out and do right. And I've met some that's been like, Miss Davis, I'm never coming back. I appreciate it. I'm in school. I'm getting breaks done. I'm getting my degree, how to be a mechanic. I'm doing this. You know, I looked at it and I can make $27 an hour. I can get my own shop. So, I mean, I quit talking, but I just think it's just around the fact that a lot of people just want to try and get out and they just don't have the knowledge.
But I think too, if I can say this about the economics, I just don't think it's either extreme. Like, okay, unemployment is never zero. Like, how come the curriculum, or why don't we figure out how to make the curriculum? How do you monetize the behaviors you got access to? Like, for example, okay, if there are no jobs, then the curriculum should be how to create jobs, right? Like, how do you make a job out of that? Like, what I'm saying is that would be beneficial. There are a lot of needs in Birmingham. So if those needs can be met by some young people that thought of something, I don't know how to give them a budget to do it, but there are enough problems to work on to empower them to where it may not be the J's, but still some sense of sustainability, right? Like some sense of something, even if it's not, $50,000 a week, if it's $500 a week that you figured out how to make up, like how to sell the cooler Birmingham. You know what, we should, every young person got an automatic business license. We figure out how to market, you part of this brand, whatever you make, you can sell it out of here. So everybody can invest in whatever it is. It's gotta be something that they feel like they got ownership in and does generate some capital. Cause that's the world they live in. And a lot of times we seem disconnected or unrealistic to tell them don't worry about the money. When they see we worried about the money, everybody around them worried about the money, and we tell them don't worry about the money.
I mean, that's a good point, I think, and I want to make sure we stay with our, this force of violence, but, which I think that was a great topic, but the gist of the school teaches us to be great employees. School does not teach us, it doesn't matter if you got a doctorate degree. It teaches us to be great employees, not necessarily entrepreneurs, so. But this gentleman here, I stole it from Dad. I'm gonna put him on the spot. Amari, right? I got him, my son named Amari. So we talked about from various different angles, what are some things we could do? What, youth. A lot of us, I know I'm the youngest in here, hadn't seen, okay, I'm the second youngest in here. Hadn't seen our quote unquote youth in a long, long time. So Dad blessed us with Amari today. So what I want to hear from Amari, he's kind of heard what, the different things we discussed. Don't be shy. But what grade are you in? 10th grade. All right, now it doesn't get any younger than that. All right, in this room. So, and just be calm, feel free. What are some of the things in your perspective? Now I know, and I know Dad, so I know it didn't happen to you. I know you're not drinking, smoking, I know you. But my question of it is, as a youth, as a young man in Birmingham, Hoover, wherever you are, what are some of the things you personally feel that, I won't say you personally feel, what are some of the things you hear, or you feel or believe, or your friends believe, that they're not necessarily getting maybe from adults, from school, or from whatever have you? What are some of the reasons and causes of some of the problems?
Music. Music is really the foundation of us, really. The school I go to, we hear everybody blasting music in all ways. You got speakers in people's book bags blasting. What we have today, 20-some Savage.
21 Savage, 22 Savage,
23
Savage.
With that, it's just,
That's 21,
they
22
take it
Savage, that's
serious
23.
and they think, okay, they selling dope. All right, I gotta go get some dope so I can sell it too. And I seen it firsthand. Like I live pretty much down the street from a dude who heard from a song, he's selling dope. I gotta go get me some. I'm finna go sell it. And like making about $30 a bag or whatever he got in his bag, which I don't know. But that's just what they do. They hear and they do, they do what they hear. As in music, TV, females want to have a boss or man that tell them or disrespect them just because they see it going on Love and Hip Hop ATL or something like that. Males want this genetically impossible woman that has no self-respect for herself at all. And that's just how kids are nowadays, and music has a really good part of doing that. People will go off words, as in what y'all talking, y'all going off words, y'all trying to figure out ideas and speaking to each other and trying to make this community better. Now, me personally, what I believe, African Americans go off words. Words are our foundation. Words are what make us, words are what makes this happen. If Martin Luther King didn't speak, we would still be separated right now. Right, and if he just sat down and just watched, if he didn't speak, we would still be separated. If y'all didn't speak, it would be more dead today. But I would probably be messed up. Anybody in my school system, it would probably be more kids dead today than or more parents without their kids today than it is now. So I actually thought about this the other day. Strictness is a bad thing in my eyes. If you're too strict, it causes a child to rebel, as in slavery. If the master is too strict on their slave, the slave son rebels, and that's how he rebelled, killed his own master. But if you're too, go ahead, do whatever you want. They more than likely gonna do something dumb, but at the same time, they're gonna learn from it. If you stay in that little gray area, I'm strict and I'm not strict, you're gonna be all right. I mean, that's what my parents said. I turned out pretty good. So, I mean, I'm cool. But strictness has a lot to do with it. As some teachers, they may be too strict on a child, and that child grows out of his place, and he says, "Okay, whatever, dude. I don't want to talk to you." I see it all the time. Or maybe a teacher is less strict and just doesn't care if you do your work, doesn't care anything, and they walking out the class without asking. That's just how it is. I mean, but if you had that one teacher in the gray line, they respect you, they love you, they want to be in your class, they want to learn, they want to do what you say, it's versatile. You still got to put your foot down. I mean, just kind of let them get away with what they want to do. And yeah, that's all I have for it. So,
young man, walk in the door, and I did this, and he leaned forward, and I did this, and he said, nobody's behind him. I did this again, and he stepped out the way. So that's when I walked up and went out there. But, so what I can appreciate, thanks for sharing that with us. Oh, my man. Come on down, Dan. I'm going to put you on, come on down, Mr. Carl. No, don't you, Me? Yes, sir. You Mr. Danny Carl. Come on.
I was just here trying to learn too, man. I
No,
heard the young man talking, man.
Come on, here you go.
All right.
Okay. That's how we appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
So basically what we were doing, I know you just walked in, but just kind of want to just pick your brain for a little bit, just a little bit. Just talking about some of the things that, as an organization, as individuals, what could we do? We know what's going on, and I know you know what's going on. Got you working overtime. As it relates to a lot of the violence in our community. Young man got an opportunity to hear kind of his thoughts on it. So we would love to hear from your perspective. What are some of the things that, and we talk about this all the time, what I don't want to happen is this to be a one-hitter quitter. We sit here, we talk about it, and then next week something else happens, we on to that, and then 3 days after that, we done forgot totally about it. So there's no consistency involved in it whatsoever. So what are some things that we can do, and I won't even say as an organization, just in general, to kind of reach our youth? I mean, we keep saying, you know, talk to them, and we do this, and you know, we're going to be blunt, it's our guys. It's our guys. The women ain't gonna have nobody to be with after a while. That's already here. So, I know I'm asking you a lot, not to put you on the spot, but I'm glad you always bounce back and forth. But educate us on some stuff.
And I can't say I'm educating about it. Number one, I was just here because, actually on my way from the office, I got a call from a buddy of mine. I was like, hey, I'm going over to the Urban League. They're having a community meeting. Why are you? I said, well, I'm passing the Urban League. He's like, stop by here for a second.
Which one was your buddy?
So I walked in here. I'm gonna tell you, the strange thing is, no, I walked in here, and the strange, he's not here yet. and I was gonna ease back out, and I heard this young man talking, and I felt like that was an opportunity for me to hear from a young person and educate myself more. So I kind of took the liberty to just stand right there, and I wanted to hear him and hear what he and pick his brain. Because sometimes I think we take for granted that the young people are the people that are there. They're experiencing it. They know what's going on. They know the climate. They know what they need. But sometimes we as adults and people who are elected or appointed officials think they know it all. And they don't. Now, everybody have and let me say this, and I'll say this in open forum because unlike, I don't consider myself a true politician. I don't, this position, for whatever reason, the good Lord saw fit for me to have it. I didn't ask for it. I didn't run for it. I didn't ask for support for it anything. But, and maybe there's a reason for that. But, oftentimes you have all these different factions of people that have an angle or trying to create a platform, and they're using our youth as a reason to do it for publicity purposes. Whoever shout the loudest, everybody kind of run over there because they're shouting about VRI, they're shouting about programs, or they're shouting about this to get a platform. But at the end of the day, what you're doing today, having this young man talk and kind of tell you what's on his mind is more important than anything I can say. Now, I will say this. We got our young people, y'all know this, carrying guns, buying guns at a scary, scary rate. Really, we do. And I will say this in an open forum. It's a problem. I call it an epidemic. It's a problem. Now, we can turn a deaf ear to it and say it's a small number or a small group. The problem is they're being influenced by the other people. I talked to a young man today, and I don't want to get too much into it because it may be on the news tomorrow about some things that happened. And this young man I knew, and from talking with him one-on-one, he's never been in trouble, straight A&B student, great athlete, but he was influenced by the guys that would come around that would do things for him that he couldn't get at home. And I'm just being honest with you. Yeah. And he was being honest with me because that was his opportunity to be honest with me for a reason. And he was being influenced by them. His parents didn't really know it because he hid it very well. But they were giving him things. They made him feel loved. They acted as if they cared about him until this incident went down, that they had his back. So they chose that group or that faction over just what he said, over what was going on at home, how stern it was, how strict it was. You do X, Y, Z. Now, I won't be the first one to tell you, I'm one of those parents, my daughter understands that, it's my way to have it now, it is. But at the end of the day, you have to listen to these kids. And we're not listening. We're not listening. And when I walked in and saw this young man up here, so I'm telling you, if it had been a bunch of adults up here, I would have turned around and walked back out the door. I'd have spoken to Roberto, spoke to some more friends of mine, yourself included, and I'd have walked back out. Because at this point, and I'm tired of hearing from adults and politicians that's not making something happen in our community. It's time for action. And let me say this. We have to do something about programs in our neighborhoods. We have to do that. But programs can't solve it all. It starts with that person. It does. People don't want to hear that. It starts with that person, and it starts at home. It does. People don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. It starts on, because every time a guy comes down to the county jail, lately, and has been charged with a serious felony where they're looking at life without parole, the 15-year-old that I got to have a hearing on tomorrow at family court to get him transferred to the adult system, 15 years old. I got to go to family court tomorrow and have him transferred to the adult system, for murder. 15. But you know what? When I went down there and I saw him, when I talked to him, his mom, when I walked out the room, his mom said his demeanor hadn't been that way in 6 years. He was humble. He understood the gravity of what he was looking at. He was afraid. And he understood that it made the possibility that this is it for him. And the tears that came down his face kind of moved me, honestly. This is a man that's charged with murder, young boy. But if we don't show them that on the front end, and save them on the front end, and make them know that the stove is hot on the front end, I'm telling you, if you sit another young man there, thinking or knowing that that's a possibility, that would change his life. How do we get to that point? Because I'm at the point now of, I know if some of y'all haven't seen Scared Straight. I used to watch that Scared Straight stuff. We need Scared Straight here.
Yeah, we do.
I'm telling y'all, we need Scared Straight here.
I'm from Bessemer, and I want to say, when I was in elementary school,
Yes.
around 95, 96, they took all of us and took us to Jefferson County, in Bessemer, and took us to the Bessemer City Jail.
Absolutely.
And I've never been one to be like this prone for violence or whatever, but it really was like, this is not cute. This is not what it's supposed to be. When you look at TV shows now, they kind of show you one aspect. As you were stating, you know, they think they're just going to go to jail and watch TV and things of that nature. Maybe implementing a program like that.
I'm working on that now.
Would be beneficial.
I'm working
They
on
would
that
see
now.
it firsthand.
You're absolutely right. And there's a lot of red tape that you have to go through because people don't, you know, their liability and a lot of stuff. But, and I mean, I don't want it to be where they just kind of walk through and, hey, yeah, that's my, you know, no. I mean, it needs to be very interactive, and they need to understand that this is real. And I'm telling you, if we do that, you know, and I'm a realist now, we're not gonna save them all. I say that openly too. You're not. You're gonna have some boneheads. It just is what it is. But if I can save a couple, that's better than my work is not in vain. And now that is my position. That is what I'm working on now. But if you saw that young man today, I'm telling you, you would never thought, as he sat across from me, you would never thought in a million years he could have done what he did. And you can tell that he is not that kind of person. But it's too late. You got a dead body. It's too late. There's a price to pay for that. And his family knows it. And they're torn apart. And for him to see his mom today cry like that, I'm telling you, it tore me up. It tore him up. I mean, of course I had to get myself together because I got something to do. But at the same time, we got to save these kids on the front end by doing stuff like that. They gotta know the stove is hot. They gotta know rap music and all that. They glorify the rap and ride around in the 26-inch rims. The rims cost more than the car. But at the end of the day, they need to understand when the sun go off, when the music stop playing, here's the realization of it. And that's what we have to get to. And to me, those are extreme measures that has to be taken in our neighborhoods at this point. And I'm just telling you, we can have all the programs, we can talk and scream to each other about this program, or how the police come through this neighborhood and do this and that. All that doesn't matter. Kids don't want that. That doesn't touch them. That touch us, because we feel better walking out the door. I'm on my soapbox now since you called me up here. But I'm telling you, but that is what we have to do. That's what we have to do. And people say, well, that is not popular for you to stay there and do that because you're in this position and whatever. What do you have to run for? I don't care. If I have to lose it, I don't care about all that. What I care about is saving our kids and saving our community. That's more important to me than any position. Position don't mean anything to me. And that's what has to be done. I'm telling you, and I'm working on it. You know, a lot of people want to do it. Some people are a little hesitant because they don't want the liability of it. But it can be done in a manner where we can save these kids and have more young kids sit up here like this young man and be able to tell other young kids about what's going on. But to me, that's the answer. That's the answer. All these fancy programs and this, it's just not the answer. The answer is let these kids know the real ramifications of their action. And if this young man was sitting here right now, who I sat in there today with, I'm telling y'all, that guy, I worry about it. I worry about it because, I mean, he knows it's serious. And he is scared to death to go to the county. He's 15 years old. I couldn't survive in the county. He's 15. So that I'm telling you that, you know, I guarantee you that boy walk down there tomorrow, he will be on the straight and narrow for the rest of his life. He will tell that story to somebody else and try to straighten somebody else out. But how do you get to that point? You can't, because there's a dead body on the ground. So we need to say the kids on the front end. And to me, that is my idea, and I would say it at every community meeting I go to. We got to get back to that, and, or not back, you know, I knew we got to get to that. And I'm working toward getting to that. And at some point, y'all may hear about it, you know, kids or whatever, let me know. But we'll do it. But I just came to hear this young man talk right here, because I heard him speaking. I was standing back there, and thank you for calling me up here. But I'm gonna go stand back there where I intended to be the entire time, and I'm gonna get out the way. Yeah.
I just want to add something to your statement when you're saying we need to let the kids know on the front end. I think another thing that we have an issue with doing is sharing our own story. There has to be a level of transparency. So when you're showing up and talking to these kids and you're at a place of success, you may have on your suit, your red bottoms, your dress, your tights, whatever you have on, and that's all that they see. And we're coming in with this story. Hey, you need to go to school, you need to get your work, you need to do this and this. Okay, but they want to hear something else. Like, tell them, like, they want to hear your story. Like, because we ain't always just arrived. And we hadn't always just been what you see. So there has to be a level of transparency. Not only are we telling them on the front end, hey, if you touch this stove, you're going to burn yourself. But I need to tell you an example of myself too, and don't be scared to do that, because your story is yours, and you need to own it, and your story, you were allowed to go through it to help somebody else. So we got to get out of the mindset of, I'm afraid to share my story, because your story is for somebody else also.
Oh, no, I was going to add
This amount.
Thanks, Jack. Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna add that, I went to my first year of law school in Loyola in Chicago, and I went into Cook County Detention Center, and we go twice a week. And, they were all black men. They were between the age of 14 and 17, and they'd already been convicted of adult crimes. They were being transferred to adult prison. And so we were in there teaching them some certain legal lessons, which frankly I thought was irrelevant, since clearly my babies were already, you know, incarcerated. So there are things they will quote lyrics to me all the time. And so I feel like we shouldn't necessarily fight against the music. Use the music. If somebody's talking about 2 kilos of dope, fine. Tell them how long that's gonna get them in jail, how much money it's gonna cost for their lawyer, right? Like I don't necessarily think we should fight that, because there's no, like that's beyond us. So fine, like take some lyrics. I promise you I did that. We broke it down during Jeopardy, we really did. Let's talk about how many years you're gonna get for this, how much money you got, and you flip this to help your mama, and guess who's gonna get that money? Not your mama, right? Like I get the goal. We all trying to get our mamas and daddies out of everything. So I feel like if you take what it is they know and we adapt, right? I think our expectation is that they adapt to what we do, but we buy into a system that doesn't support us either, and we have a responsibility to take ourselves out of that, right? Like, we're telling them to buy into something that we don't even believe in. So, my point is, we need to also at least attempt to remove ourselves, right? If we know school teaches them employment stuff, not ownership, it taught us the same thing. So if we know that, then we need to start being owners, and then we hire them so they don't go out or whatever. We have to have faith and trust in them. So again, we should meet them, I think, where they are, instead of force them to change something that's really shaped the way they think. If we know better, then we show them, but we do that by hiring them. We do that by saying, all right, so-and-so murders three murders. How long is that gonna get you? You can't afford, you might not be able to afford your girl. You know she's down for the cause, but she has to eat and pay those loans. So you might not be able to get out, right? So I think if we just give them some realism with what they know and show them that 21 Savage or whoever really might not have sold that much cocaine. He just might just be saying that. You know, I know that makes us really uncomfortable, and it makes me uncomfortable. I didn't like being in Cook County Detention Center. I don't like going to prisons now. Trust me, I don't fit in well at all. But, you know, if we take that and that transparency, that transparency, and then we bring it to them the way they know it, I promise you, they will buy into. I do not have difficulty at all, I guarantee you. After about 10 minutes, I talk to young men who have murdered people, everything. I I don't have a problem talking to them, because they get that I don't have anything for you, baby. I'm not trying to take anything from you. All I want you to do is listen to me, and I'm listening to you. I promise you, when all is said and done, we all have the same human needs of autonomy, respect, and belonging. And I promise you, we can start there and then elevate them. At that point, I guarantee you, we can make some kind of success in the move.
Yes, sir.
Peace, King. How you doing? I'm gonna beat something before I start. My name is A.B. Shabazz. I'm with New York, Birmingham. And I want to bring something to everybody's attention in the room dealing with the BRI. I think it's important for us to know. First of all, I want to say y'all love y'all. I hope y'all love me back. And there's a lot of people out there in the community who need love, just like we need love. We can't repeat the same cycle that we tried in the 80s to stop crime, which was mass incarceration, which we're still suffering from the ramifications of that today. There's aspects of the BRI that is not being discussed openly that leads to mass incarceration. When we're targeting our children and we are putting down dragnets on communities and looking for crime, what's going to happen? Mass incarceration. And we have options. We can allow our love, we can allow our dissatisfaction and unhappiness with what's going on cause us or push us to do something that we're going to be suffering from again 20 years later, right? So we have to be smarter about how we deal with the same thing that we've been dealing with 20 years ago. So if mass incarceration worked, we wouldn't be in this room today having this conversation. So it's obvious that mass incarceration does not work. So we have to come up with something that does, because at the end of the day, we want to save our children from the prisons and from the graveyards, not just from the graveyards, right? So we have a plan, which I'm presenting to the brother right here, and I hope I got 3 copies, I came unprepared. But we have a plan which people like myself who have been through the system, I went to prison twice. I'm in the streets, I go in the streets every day. We do what we call violence interruptions, where we get personal connections with the most people who are most likely to be in crime or the victim of a crime. We build personal relationships with them, and we're able to get in spaces that a suit wouldn't necessarily be able to get into, that an officer wouldn't be able to get into, that a politician wouldn't be able to get into. But we get into these spaces, and then we're able to find out about beefs and what's conflict, and then we're able to get in the middle of them and resolve them. This is the work that we're doing. This is not something that we're speaking hypothetically about. This is the work we're doing, and it's much more effective because we're dealing with real-life situations, and we have ears to the streets where the rumors are before anything happens, a conversation takes place somewhere. And when somebody know that they have somewhere they can call, well, they ain't necessarily gonna get their friend locked up, but somebody they can call that gets against us, and then they have another option. Because right now they don't have an option. It's either let it happen or get my friend sent to jail. But with us, it's an option. He can call us and we can come in and we can mitigate this situation. So again, we have an option. So with the violence with the BRI, we understand that on the top of it, there's a lot of good resources and services and things of that nature. There's a lot of good intentions and a lot of good heart. But on the bottom side of it, read the actual initiative. We've been listening to presentations, but we haven't actually read the initiative. And in the initiative, it specifically states if this person commits a crime, once he's called in, he's on state supervision or parole, he's called in, they're going to identify him. And then whatever he do is going to affect the people who they group with him. People who don't even know that he's been called in, right? So if y'all are part of this same organization, what he do affect all of y'all, and y'all don't even know it. So when the crackdown comes down, it's come down on everybody because of his action. So we put microscopes over our communities in this fashion, it can't lead to but one thing, which is mass incarceration. Because we can put a microscope on any community and come out with the same result. So we have to be smart about the way we're approaching this. And I came just to deliver that message because we all want to stop crime. That's no doubt. That's unanimous. But we can't just stop crime. We have to stop crime and stop mass incarceration. So we have to deal with this solution twofold. Appreciate the time, King.
Anyone else? We heard some good stuff tonight. But again, at the end of the day, this is about an action item. So we can talk, we can hear. You heard the DA, Amari. So we parents, concerned citizens. So we've heard from a broad range of individuals. So where do we go next? You know, we heard about the mentorship, adopting, classrooms, young men, young women, reality, one thing I think from a consensus standpoint we can come to, you know, we're not gonna get these individuals here. So what we did, or learned or discussed tonight, we need to take it back out. And not it just stop at the door and waiting to see, okay, what is the Urban League gonna do next? What is the New Era Birmingham gonna do next? What is Daddy Carr gonna do next? What are we gonna do next? You know, because again, whether we have kids in a situation, a family member, it's gonna affect us indirectly or directly. So none of us are immune to it. It's only one way to get from up under it and to get away from it, and that's to go to your glory. That's the only way. Outside of that, it's gonna touch you. You can't move in a certain neighborhood. You can't leave the state or the country. It's gonna catch up with you. All right. So one thing I would like to, in closing, challenge each and every one of us to do collectively, individually. We need to discuss some action items. You know, we talk. Daddy mentioned, you know, the interaction as it relates to the stove being hot, because that's something we talked about earlier today. You know, if kids aren't afraid of the cops, they don't care about what we talking about. They go in one ear and the other, because they're not scared of anything until it happens. And some of them still don't be scared at that point. Until, like you said, you get in there and the door's closed. I have relatives, I'm not ashamed to say, it's been locked up. You know, I got some that's never gonna get out. You know, reality sunk in. It was fun in games at first, going in there for misdemeanors, getting out. I've been locked up 12 times, go through the routine. But when that thing clammed for the last day, and that was the last time, couldn't get out to go to his mother's funeral and some other stuff, I'm pretty sure it get real. I don't want to experience it, but I'm pretty sure it does. So, what are some 2 or 3 action items you can take away from this? Yes, sir.
One thing that I've been thinking about, I'm Roy Crenshaw. I live in the Southeast Lake neighborhood. I serve as the vice president in that neighborhood, so I see this all the time. You know, with me being there wearing a suit and doing all that, moving into the neighborhood, the perception from kids that see me going to work every morning is, why you here? You supposed to be over the mountain. You supposed to be on 280. They saw me higher than them. But once I told someone that talked to me my story, I grew up in North Birmingham, you know, I was 2 steps away from being locked up, you know, in the system. And just talking to them, that's when they really understood, you know, that there is other options. Like my brother said, they lost hope. One thing that I told them a story of, I said, well, in 2nd and 3rd grade, my dream job was to work at Foot Locker. The reason for that is those are the only successful people I saw, because they always had the new J's. They always had the new J's. I felt they were doing it. I did not want to be a lawyer. I ain't want to be none of that, because you either got to be white or you got to be not one of us. You live in Center Point, you live in all these other areas back then. So one thing I think that we need to do is be able to touch the kids at the school level, even at the kindergarten level. Let them see professionals that look just like us. Because a lot of the people they see when they go home, they don't see us. Where I live, they don't see us. And that's why they thought that I wasn't supposed to be there. But once I told them why I was there, that I grew up in an area like this, and I'm sewing back on board, because we're fighting, you know, certain aspects of the culture, the music. You know, if Lil Wayne said he got, you know, 20, even if I make 100,000, I'm, you know, I'm suppressed.
Yeah.
You know, it's about catching the kids early and being able to show, even as a representative, and just is a way, and that see always is not always, but in reality, we help bring back to the community.
Great point. Yes, sir.
I'm the co-founder of a mentorship program called the NAME Project. Now, our target demographic is young males, 6th to 12th grade. But what we have discovered is by the time they get to that age, kind of on a path, you know, it's kind of hard to break that. So I believe we got to catch kids at a younger age, like really like K5. You start to listen. I have a 6-year-old son. He listens to what I tell him and don't say things later sometimes. And with guys, it takes them a while to open up too. So taking all those things into consideration, you know, catching those guys at a young age, and like, my man A.B. Shabazz said, intervene, get out in the streets, cause part of, we started this, we get out, you know, we build relationships with them, we put our money on the line if they need. We took one healthy cook class, like, what is a whole new door open, you know, open their eyes to things like that. So, you know, I think we just gotta get in the line, gotta get in the community, boots to the ground, you know, that's the way to get it, you know, build relationships.
I agree with you. Yes, sir. Peace, family. Piggybacking off what my brother said, I also mentor with C4, professionals. You know, I'm a professional now, but I didn't come from a professional background. I think it's strategically critical that we come together. If it's professional and not educated, we have to be able to expose our children to every aspect and allow them to choose from the tree what they want to eat from, because we can't force feed them anything. I think that if we get comfortable enough to come to our communities, if that means us going into the communities and you know, smoothing it out, but y'all gotta come in and then we gotta bring them out. You know, we gotta take them to 5-star restaurants and let them see what that feel like. But they just go to, we ain't got